Good day, Sir PUM Sarnal. Let me introduce first myself. I am Alicia Lopez, a second-year biz-based student, batch 3. These are my groupmates: Jesebell Liron, Cherry Moratalla, Lelejean Logagay, and edmun lowagon. And we are the group 13. Our topic to be discussed is the minimum wages and wage fixing machinery. So what is wage? Wage is the money paid to the workers is considered as wages. The wage is the payment made to the workers for placing their skills and energy at the disposal of the employer. The term wages may be used to describe one of the several concepts including wage rate, straight time average, hourly earnings, gross average hourly earnings, weekly earnings, and weekly take-home pay and annual earnings. The concept of earnings relates to the remuneration in cash and in kind paid to employers. As a rule, at the regular interval for time work done together with the remuneration for time not work wages. In the widest sense means any economic compensation met by the employer under some contract to his employees for the services rendered by them. Gross earnings may differ from the wage rate not only because of the number of days or weeks on which a worker is able to willing to secure employment. The two terms often used interchangeably are wages and salary. There are different types of wages. First is the minimum wages, fair wages, living wages. So what is minimum wages? A minimum wage is one which has to be paid by an employer to his workers, irrespective of his ability to pay, according to the above committee. According to Minimum Wage Act 1948, it is also the wage which must provide not only for the bare sustenance of life, but for the preservation of the efficiency of the workers. For these purposes, minimum wage must provide some measure of education, medical requirements, and amenities. The next is fair wages. Fair wage is the wage which is above minimum wage but below the living wage. The lower limit of the fair wage is absolutely the minimum wage. The upper limit is to be set by the capacity of the industry to pay. This concept of fair wage is linked with the capacity of the industry to pay. Thus, fair wage depends on different variables affecting wage determinations. Such factors are labor productivity, prevailing wage rate, the level of national income and its distribution, the capacity of industry to pay, which is fair wage is followed by the most business organizations. Living wage. A living wage is one which should enable the earner to provide for himself and his family not only the bare essential of food, clothing, and shelter, but a measure of frugal comfort, including education for the children, protection agents, ill health requirements of essential social needs, and a measure of insurance against the more important misfortunes, including old age. Compensation management. Compensation is what employees receive in exchange for their contribution to the organization. As shown in the screen, total compensation is equal to direct plus indirect compensation. For direct is include base pay and incentives, and for indirect compensations is benefits. There are two components of wage: financial and non-financial. Under the financial, basic wages has fringe benefits, medical care, accident relief, health, and group insurance. Incentives, individual plans, group plans, prerequisites, car, club membership, paid holidays, furnished house, stock option scam. For non-financial is job context, challenging job responsibilities, growth prospects, supervisions, working condition, and job sharing, etc. Influencing factors of wages has two parts: external and internal. For external, labor market, cost of living, labor unions, government legislation, society, and economy. For external, business strategy, job evaluation, and the employee. There are also challenges of wages: skill-based pay, employee participation, comparable work, pay secrecy, and wage review. These are the wage payment system, base rate system, and time rate system. The base rate system is that system of wage payment in which the workers are paid on the basics of the units of output produced. So, total wage earned is equal to output times base rate. The time rate system is the system of wage payment in which the workers are paid on the basis of time spent by them in the factory. So wage earned is equal to time spent plus attended times wage rate per hour, day, week, and month. And that's the end of my topic about the minimum wages. The next is wage fixing machinery that would be discussed and tackled by my group.
Wage fixation method. There are different methods for fixing the wages of employees. First is the legal framework. Include not only the core component of the legislation itself, but also the institutional, administrative, political, social, and economic conditions or arrangement. So the different legislations that grounds the payment of wages are the Payment of Wages Act 1936. The purpose of the Act is to ensure regular and prompt payment of wages to prevent exploitation of the earner by prohibiting unauthorized fines and deductions. Second is the Minimum Wages, the Act 1948. This Act requires the concerned authority to fix minimum rates of wages payable to employees. Next is the Payment of Bonus, Act 1965. This Act is for payment of bonus to persons employed in certain establishment. The next is the Equal Remuneration, the Act 1976. The main objective is to provide equal remuneration to men and women engaged in some or similar work. It stipulates punishment for contraventions of Act provisions. Unilateral pay fixation. Majority of the wages in an organized sector is unilaterally determined by the management, or workers in most cases get less than minimum wages and benefits stipulated under law, but also have to face the discrimination in benefits between one set of workers from another. The collective bargaining. It is a technique by which an attempt is made to reconcile the needs and objects of workers and employers, and is therefore an integral part of industrial society. Or is a process whereby standards are created to govern labor relations, including wages and working conditions. Next is the pay commission. The pay structure of the central government employees are based on the recommendation of the pay commission set up by the central government. The certain state governments also follow the recommendations of the pay commission, and few other states have set up their own pay commissions.
Good afternoon, classmates. I'm Chair Moratalla, and my task is about the wage policy. The wage policy may be viewed from three angles. At the microeconomic level, the problem is that of resolving the conflict between the objectives of an immediate rise in the standard of living workers, additional employment, and capital formation. At the semi-aggregate level, the problem is that of evolving a wage structure which promotes economic development. At the plant level, the problem is that of a system which provides incentives for increased productivity and improved skills. Social objectives of wage policy. A given wage policy must be instrumental in achieving the elimination of exceptionally low wages, the establishment of fair labor standards, the protection of wage earners from the effects of rising prices, the incentives for workers to improve their productive performance. Objectives of wage policy by ILO: to abolish malpractices and abuses in wage payment, to set minimum wages for unorganized workers having weak bargaining powers, to provide for the workers a just share in the economic development, to bring an efficient allocation and utilization of manpower through wage differentials. Objectives of wage policy in India: to provide a minimum wage to workers employed in sweated industries. Number 2, to fix wage ceilings. 3, to improve the existing wage structure. Number 4, to control inflationary tendencies. Number 5, to accelerate export promotion. And number 6 is others. And the number 1 is to bring social justice and equal opportunities to workers, to maintain industrial peace, to provide guidance to wage fixation and revision authorities. And the last is to develop the skills in newly recruited industrial labor and other manpower resources. The last is the wage scenario. The Indian wage scene has been in a state of dismay due to gross neglect of wage planning. Undue emphasis is laid only the financial aspect of the wage plan, and changes in the rapid economic development is not incorporated. In the absence of agreed and centrally evolved guidelines and norms for wage fixations, the various 5-year plans and the minimum wages act laid down their own criteria. The concept of minimum wages, fair wages, living wages, and need-based wages are not properly defined, leading to a wage structure without uniformity and coordination between its various components. There is a wide variation in the wage rates for the same kind of work in the same industry in the same region. The daily wage rates widely varies amongst the states. There is gender bias in wage rates. The wage differentials do not reflect any differences in skill, training, and hazards involved.
And I am Lelejean Logagay.
Limitation of a wage policy. The limitation wage of a policy means enforcement rise and price, wage versus productivity imbalance, labor, less skilled labor, and a few others. And these are the limitation of a wage policy: socio-economic setup of a country, enforcement and organized sector, lack of unity among unions, price rise almost beyond regulatory capabilities, wage lack for beyond labor productivity, lesser number of workers in organized sector, take away bulk of wage than organized sector, wage income are consumption oriented rather than savings oriented, so increased wage would mean increased consumption. Therefore, economic growth may not be affected positively as it depends upon rate of investment possible through savings, ever increasing addition to workforce, yet dearth of skilled labor. High wage may force employers to shift toward capital intensive method. High wage reduce capital for growth. For wage regulation machinery to stop unscrupulous employers who are in a stronger bargaining position to hire workers at exceptionally low wage and ruthlessly exploit them, especially in India, wherein a major chunk of Indian workforce constitutes of unskilled workers. Second, it leads to a forced redistribution of employers' income to the employees, which increase the purchasing power of millions and give a boost to the economy. The third is a minimum wage along with some provision of education, medical and others amenities is necessary to uplift workers from the poverty level and help maintain efficiency of workers to achieve targets of production. Legal framework. The legal framework for the payment of wage salaries is governed mainly by four legislations beside the guidelines for managerial remuneration. These are the Payment of Wage Act 1936 was enacted with a view to prevent the exploitation of workers from unfair deduction in wage. It means act is intended to be remedy against unauthorized deductions by employer or an unjustified delay in payment of wage. Next, the Minimum Wage Act 1948 fixes statutory minimum wage is weighted industries. It means that minimum wage refers to the smallest wage an employee can make per hour for all hours he or she works on job. For example, New York has a higher minimum wage than Maine, as the cost of living is higher in New York. Next, the Payment of Bonus Act 1965 provides for payment of bonus on the basis of profits or on the basis of production or productivity. For example of payment of bonus, if salary is equal to or less than Rs 7,000, then the bonus is calculated on the actual amount by using the formula bonus equals salary times 8.33 equal and 100. Using the formula bonus equals salary times 8.33 over 100. Next is Equal Remuneration Act 1976. Ensures equal remuneration to men and women workers for same work or work of a similar nature. Act to provide for the payment of equal remuneration to men and women workers and for the prevention of discrimination on the ground of sex against women in the matter of employment and for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto. And the last one is Industrial Disputes and Act of 1947 provides for dealing for disputes relating to wage. extended to the whole of India and regulated India labor law so far as that concerns trade unions as well as individual workmen employed in industry within the territory of India mainland enacted on 5-year plan and wage policy. 5-year plan means for the development of the national economy of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics consisted of a series of nationwide centralized economic plans in the Soviet Union beginning in the 1920s. And the wage policy, everything you need to know about wage policy. The term of wage policy refers to legislation of government action undertaking to regulate the level or structure of wage or both for the purpose of achieving specific objectives of social and economic policy. So, the fifth plan recommended that the rewards structure of the industrial employees in terms of wage and non-wage benefit must be related to performance records in industrial enterprises. So also focus on the self-reliance in agricultural production and defense. The minimum needs program was introduced in the first year of the fifth 5-year plan, 1974 and to 1978. Plan 1980 to 1985 pointed out there were marked disparities was respected to wage between the organized and unorganized and urban and rural sectors. So the sixth plan price controls were eliminated and ration shops were closed. This led to an increase in food price and an increase in the cost of living. The seventh plan, 1985 to 1990, asserted that an important aspect of labor policy related to the formulation of an appropriate wage policy had strived towards socialism and energy production at large. The eighth plan, 1992 to 1997, laid focus on formulation of wage policy relating to child labor, bandit labor, rural labor, woman labor, and interstate migrant labor. So, for managing the transition from a centrally planned economy to market-led economy through indicative planning.
Good morning. I I introduce myself. My name is Edmun Lowagon, base B2 batch 3. My topic is about wage policy and wage regulation machinery. Pay commissions India. The structure of central government employees is based on the recommendations of pay commissions set up by the central government. So the pay commissions is set up by the government of India and give its recommendations regarding change in the salary structure of its employees set up in 1947. Since India independence 7-day pay commissions have been set up on a regular basis have been set up to review and make recommendation on the work and pay structure of all civil and military division of government of India. Composition of wage board. It is tripartite body representing the interests of labor management, and public, the labor and management representative are nominated in equal numbers by the government and are generally select is investigate. The composition of wage board is as a role tripartite representing the interests of labor management and public. Labor management and representatives are nominated in equal numbers by the government with consultation and consent. Boards are cleared by government nominate members representing the public. Function of wage board. The wage board are required to determine which category of employees be brought within the scope of wage fixation. So you have to determine which category of employees, if it is manual or supervisory. Work out a wage structure based on the principles of fair wage. You have to suggest a system of payment by result. Work out the principles that should govern bonus to workers in industries and recommended minimum wage difference cost of living compositions. Regional wage differential and gravity hours of work. That's all. Thank you.